Hey everyone, it's Michael Groff here to talk to you about your roof. With an active monsoon season expected this year, you need a name you can trust, and that's why you should call Blackstone Roofing Group for all of your roofing needs. Call for your free inspection today. Big or small, they do it all. Tile, shingle, or flat roofing, they can help, offering free inspections and more. Roofing made easy. Call 602-536-9363 or visit blackstoneroofing.com to schedule your free inspection today. And if you tell them Michael Groff sent you, they'll take $500 off the price of your roof replacement. Again, that's 602-536-9363 or blackstoneroofing.com. This is the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion for Tuesday, the 22nd of July. I'm Michael Groff. One more day with the potential of some monsoon activity, and then the weather pattern turns rather anti-monsoon as we go through the rest of the week and this weekend. Rather unusual setup taking place with broad troughing along the west coast, a dry southwesterly flow. What does that mean for us? Well, it means shower and thunderstorm activity will be out of here, maybe out of the entire state by later this week. How long will that last? When might the monsoon come back? Mike, stop talking about a monsoon. Bring it back. I wish I had that power. I really, really do. Well, you know what we're going to do. We're going to dive on in, try to figure out the answers to all of your questions as we get to it right now. Okay, here we go. The almanac from yesterday. 104 degrees the afternoon high. That low temperature of 85. Well, that actually occurred just after 10 a.m. because shortly after I recorded yesterday's video, we had a little shower that popped up over South Mountain and then moved past Sky Harbor Airport and then blew up into a rather strong thunderstorm that came right over Arcadia, Paradise Valley, and parts of Scottsdale, producing some gusty winds and heavy rain over by Studio A, where we used to do these weather videos from for years. Well, some pretty heavy rain took place, gusty winds, but for most of us, including here at Studio B, absolutely nothing. 106 and 85 are the averages for this time of year, so pretty much in line with where we ought to be. And there it was, that trace of rain officially at Sky Harbor. A few of you, a few very lucky folks out there did pick up some rain yesterday, though. So good on you. I'm jealous, though. Outside now at 12 noon, fluffy clouds out there. Those cumulus clouds are around. And we are sitting at 93 degrees at Sky Harbor. But unlike yesterday, you will notice for sure it is much more humid out there. Look at that dew point up at 63. Relative humidity, 36%. The wind's light, the barometer falling. Satellite picture out here across the west. We put it in motion. You can see there's a kind of disorganized ridge over eastern New Mexico, West Texas. And we've got a trough off the west coast. Arizona between those features, kind of a southeasterly flow for the eastern half of the state or most of the state. But out west, we've got a southwesterly flow, and the much drier air is knocking on the door, and it's going to push in here eventually. But we do have enough moisture and certainly dynamic support around today for some shower and thunderstorm activity to develop. The watch warning map, we have that big ridge over the plain states in the southeast U.S., so another day with heat advisories and extreme heat warnings from the Gulf Coast all the way up to Chicago and Minneapolis, St. Paul. The convective outlook for today, some of those areas under the gun for the potential of some severe weather as well. That severe storm risk, level 2 out of 5, defined by the SPC from eastern Montana through the Dakotas, Minnesota, Fargo, Bemidji, Thief River Falls, Brainerd. Could see some strong and severe storms today, as well as over parts of the southeast U.S., portions of eastern Alabama, Georgia, North Florida, South Carolina. The strongest storms there might produce some gusty winds to around 60 miles per hour. In Arizona, we're in the green. Thunderstorms possible again today. They will be widely scattered in nature, but where they do occur, just like yesterday, brief heavy rain, gusty winds, maybe not severe, although an isolated severe storm can never be ruled out during the monsoon, blowing dust, and of course, lots of lightning. All right, here's the precipitation outlook. This is valid through next Tuesday morning from the WPC. I know this is not a very encouraging graphic. Rain amounts in Phoenix, not much. Under 1/10 of an inch, maybe as much as 1/4 to 1/2 inch for east central and southeast Arizona, but even at that, not much. Your amount will vary, but you see the numbers are trending down. Why is that? What's going on with this weather pattern? Make it stop. Well, let's get into it right now. See what the future may hold as we check out those models. Here it is, the GFS. This is the 12Z run. It's valid at 5 o'clock this afternoon. Here we go with the upper look at 18,000 feet off the ground. That's where the pressure is 500 millibars. And we've got the same old weather pattern here. High pressure over the eastern half of the country, kind of nosing in toward the southwest U.S. We've got that trough off the west coast. And upper heights here over the southwest are actually a little bit below average. So what it means down at the surface for the rest of the day today, we've got partly sunny sky. Widely scattered afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms will be developing over east, central, and southeast Arizona. They will be somewhat propelled toward the lower deserts today. Let's talk about the factors working for and against us getting storms in the valley. First, on the plus side, yeah, it is definitely more humid than yesterday. The subcloud layer definitely has more moisture in it than yesterday. So any storms that develop, yeah, the rain's actually going to reach the ground. That's good news. And actually, the atmosphere through most of the column has more moisture in it, except at the very upper levels, we're starting to see an intrusion of drier air. But we also have cooler air aloft, so that's good. So again, those are kind of good factors for us. More unstable air. We should see at least more sun than we've seen in the last couple of days, so somewhat better thermodynamic support and that moisture around. Now, what's working against us? Well, we're kind of working against the clock here. The drier air is starting to work its way in from the west. And as that happens, it's going to generally shut off the ability for showers and thunderstorms to develop. But we should at least have another 6 to 12 hour opportunity for showers and storms over eastern Arizona, including the south central deserts this afternoon and this evening. Again, we don't have too much convective inhibition, just a little bit. So some outflow boundaries that come on in, those should help to break any cap and develop some storms. I just think the problem is the storms are going to be widely spaced. We don't have an obvious trigger mechanism other than just the heating, the daytime heating process. So as a result, the storms will just be very random and very widely scattered. Nevertheless, locally heavy rain and some gusty winds and small hail and lightning would be the most likely outcome from any storms that develop today. All right, let's take a look at our HRRR model. This is one of our high-resolution model guidance products here, one of our convective allowing models. This is the simulated radar product at 6 o'clock this afternoon. And you can see a few showers and storms possible here over south central Arizona. Again, the radar is not going to be exactly like this, but this is sort of a general idea with those storms kind of moving south to north or south-southeast to north-northwest at that time. All right, the rest of tonight, we'll have a few showers and storms in the evening. Otherwise, will become mostly clear after midnight. Overnight lows, upper 70s in the cool spots, mid-80s or so for the urban core. And then tomorrow, we start to really dry out, and the weather pattern gets into what I call the anti-monsoon setup. We've got this broad trough and ultimately an upper low that's developing along the west coast. That ridge is well off to the east of us, and so Arizona sits under a southwesterly flow. And that's going to take that monsoon moisture and push it on out of here. We won't see any storms developing over at least the lower deserts tomorrow in all probability, and any storms that do develop even over the higher terrain will be pushed away from us, and even those will be few and far between. Now, high temperatures will still be below average tomorrow, upper 90s to about 103. As we go further into the week, we're going to see that ridge that's over the plain states in the southeast begin to shift back toward the west. Meanwhile, this trough, this upper low along the west coast, isn't going anywhere. It's just going to sit there for a while. So southwesterly flow continues. Temperatures will warm up a little bit, though, with the drier air and that hot July sun. Yeah, that's going to make the daytime heating process much easier, much more efficient. So highs will get back toward around 102 to 106 on Thursday, 104 to 108 on Friday and Saturday. Each day, the sky is mostly sunny. The air is dry. Keeping it going, this is Sunday. That ridge to the east is getting closer to us now, and we are starting to come under at least a little bit more of its influence. And I do believe the flow aloft may, at least over far eastern Arizona, start to switch more out of the southeast. And if that's the case, some monsoonal moisture will be pushed back in here for some isolated to perhaps widely scattered afternoon and evening showers and storms. But they'll be very far away from us. Sunday will still be dry and hot here in Phoenix. High temperatures about 107 to 111. Same deal Monday. Mostly sunny for us, highs 107 to 111, but the ridge pokes a little bit closer. Even though that trough is still along the west coast and dry air sits to the west, I think the monsoon moisture gets a little further into the state, at least over the eastern third, maybe eastern half of Arizona. So widely scattered showers and storms, mainly in the afternoon hours. And I guess we may even see some gusty winds and blowing dust trying to get into the lower deserts at that time. But in terms of meaningful rain chances, still probably not with us here. Let's keep it going. This is a week from today, Tuesday, the 29th. And that ridge is still kind of nosing in from the east, but look at that upper low over the Gulf of Alaska. That is a monster of a low, and it's going to have these little short waves that rotate around it and come toward the west coast, the California coast. And what that does is it prevents the ridge from expanding any further westward. And so as a result, this southwesterly flow sits pretty much on the western border of the state or nosing into Arizona. And that just kind of keeps that drier air around. It's not a good monsoon setup at all, unfortunately. We just can't seem to get this ridge to build in over the west in an optimal position and stay there. Instead, we have these unusually strong upper level lows that are sitting over the Gulf of Alaska, or this energy that's injected down the west coast thanks to what is a very strong upper high that's over the Bering Sea and eastern Russia. And so that whole setup has just allowed these deep lows to develop over the Gulf of Alaska, the Northeast Pacific. And, you know, we don't like to see these really high amplitude blocking patterns developing like this. It just really throws a wrench into everything. And it certainly is doing so here. We just can't see that big sprawling ridge develop over the west. Now, the good news to that is, yeah, we're not seeing record heat, but the bad news is we're also not seeing any really good monsoon activity. Let's keep it going. This is Wednesday, the 30th. And again, the ridge is to the east, but that short wave is to the west of us. And again, we're just on the edge of the monsoon moisture. There might be some widely scattered afternoon and evening showers and thunderstorms, and I suppose one or two make it into the lower deserts, but this is at best case scenario, a low-grade monsoon for us. More than likely, we're still dry. Going out 10 days, this is Thursday, the 31st. It's the end of the month. And look, that big upper low, yeah, still over the Northeast Pacific. It's still pretty intense. And we still have this short wave along the west coast. And our ridge, well, it's off to the east of us. Now, the upper heights are not going to get as high as they would or could get. So, yes, temperatures will still be up 105 to 110 out here. But we're just not going to get that deep monsoon moisture. And that's sort of the bottom line to this. Now, I understand. We're out here at next week. We're out here trudging into fantasy land. This can change. But the signs are just not overly encouraging. All right, looking at rainfall for Phoenix out through the 5th of August off the GFS ensemble. This is actually a little bit better. The ensemble mean is coming up toward a half an inch. And we have seen some ensemble guidance that is favoring slightly better chances of precipitation out at next week and beyond. But again, that's a symptom of the bias toward climatology the further out in the ensemble run that you go. The European AI ensemble, well, it's got 51 members, and there's certainly some that show no rain at all for the next couple of weeks. And the ensemble mean here is much less generous. It is under 1/4 of an inch. Looking at temperatures off the national blend of models, we're below average today. Tomorrow, Thursday, pretty much getting back to around average. And then, yes, highs getting up to around 110 degrees Sunday, Monday, which isn't great, but it's also not record-breaking. Now, I get it. Some of you are saying, hey, this is a mild July, and we've talked about that. This is, so far, we're still looking at about the 7th or 8th warmest July on record. And if these temperatures hold out, we might wind up finishing at about the 9th, 10th, 11th warmest. But still, it's been a warm one. Just luckily, it hasn't been 2020, 2023, or 2024. And in the comments, I know people are asking, well, what what year would you compare this to? And I would say this is a much more watered down version of 2020. We don't have the big ridge sitting right on top of us. Instead, it's to the east, troughing sits to the west, and a broad southwesterly flow. It's kind of like 2002, actually, if I had to draw a comparison of years. We couldn't really get much of a monsoon season going that year either. We've had some really dry ones the last 20 years, especially the last, 5 of the last 7 monsoon seasons have been very disappointing. All right, that's going to do it for the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion for today. My next video is due back here tomorrow morning. Should you happen to enjoy these videos, be sure to subscribe, like, share, click that notification bell. Leave those comments, questions, and suggestions. If you're really enjoying what we do here, you want to help us out, groffshow@gmail.com is that PayPal address. It's groffshow@gmail.com for PayPal. Thanks icon below the video here on YouTube. Click that. Or our Venmo. All of that. Yep, that's linked up down in the description. The executive producer of the Phoenix, Arizona weather discussion is my OAO, the sweetest of all time, the Asian sensation, and proprietor of sweetchildaz.com.org and the Facebook page of the same name, Sweet Child Arizona. Talking about my Michelle. Check her out. Blogs, videos, everything Michelle related, possibly Adriana related. It's all linked up down in the description. Also, our streaming station for which Michelle is our VP of operations. Check it out. Also linked up in the description. It's called KMGX. We play a ton of music. Have a lot of fun with that. Thank you guys so much for watching. All of your continued support. It is so greatly appreciated. Please be safe. Stay cool. Stay hydrated out there. And you guys have yourselves a delightful rest of your Tuesday.